Hi Taurus, welcome to Magpie Moonchild. My name is Kayleigh. This is a general reading for the week ahead for you. I really feel like May the 1st is going to be a turning point. I know it's Beltane on that date, and obviously that is the turn of the wheel turns again to the next season. But I don't know, May the 1st is important. I don't know if some of you that's your birthday, obviously. But yeah, it feels like May is your season. Let's see what we've got. Anyway, I'm using Mystical Fae. I think it's Mystical Faerie Oracle today, Tarot today. Let's see what we've got for you. All the housekeeping stuff is down below, so let's crack on with your read and see what you've got coming up for the week ahead. Or there's two come out. You have the Six of Cups and Strength. The Six of Cups is all about nostalgia. Sorry, my fire's just blown on. Nostalgia, reminiscing, and also inner child work. So I don't know, and you've also got the Strength card that's come out with it, the Major Arcana of Strength. I don't know if this is to do with a relationship with a parent or to do with a child, or if there are triggers from your past that are coming up or being risen up this week. But it's a lot to do with like inner child healing and healing past traumas from childhood is what I'm getting. And we can all say, oh no, it's not childhood. And it almost feels like someone is diminishing something from your past and kind of implying that it didn't happen, almost like gaslighting the situation, so, refusing to acknowledge that they played a role in some trauma within you. Whether it was intentional or not, that is the effect that that past event has had. Just because somebody didn't intend to hurt you doesn't mean that it didn't hurt and it didn't have an effect on you. But it feels like they're kind of refusing to acknowledge that it happened because they're feeling a sense of guilt about the fact that they caused that on you. But yeah, definitely this is to do with relationships and from childhood. So it's certainly like a parent-child relationship, or maybe something that happened in childhood, a bullying situation, I don't know. But something is triggering right now and you're being asked to have strength, obviously, through this, to work through it, but also have the strength to go and do the healing on what is triggering that. So if it is to do with like past neglect in childhood, or past trauma, or gaslighting from childhood, or because it kind of feels like if they're doing this and refusing to acknowledge that that happened, they're still gaslighting you. They're still doing that whole thing with the past, going, well, that didn't happen like that. They are literally negating and making you doubt your own recollection of what actually happened. Just because they refuse to admit they were wrong doesn't mean that didn't happen to you, and it doesn't mean that your feelings aren't valid. So please remember that your feelings are very real and they are very valid. But yeah, this would suggest to me that you need to have some sort of strength with regards to that relationship. If it is that toxic and that awful and that painful, maybe you need to look at setting boundaries with those people. And in some cases, that boundary may be a brick wall where they just can't come in. You are literally shutting them out now because they've done too much damage, too much trauma. And it's having that strength to realise that you are worth more than you are having to accept from this person. But you need to remember that the power of that is in your hands now. You have the choice now to either accept the behaviour, set a boundary so that they moderate their behaviour, give them one last chance. If they react to that boundary, then that boundary is there for a reason. It proves that it was necessary, that it was there. If they have an adverse reaction to it, obviously if they have a positive one, like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know, I will learn from it. Again, that proves that that boundary was necessary, but they will moderate and change their behaviour. I feel like I have to remind you that an apology without change behaviour is actually emotional manipulation. Because I kind of feel like this person will tell you what you want to hear and then do absolutely nothing to prove those words. So it is very much a case of actions speak louder than words. But yes, something is triggering from childhood, whether that is direct result of that person who is doing this to you, or still doing this to you. Yeah, it's very much a childhood trigger that's coming to the fore. So maybe that, if necessary, you realise that those triggers are either a repeat of another relationship reflecting that, and obviously that's, again, reflection of past things is the Six of Cups, or it could be that it's the same people. But yeah, it's about a lesson on boundaries and what you are willing and not willing to accept, because we set our value. We decide what is acceptable behaviour towards us and what isn't. And we need to learn how to set boundaries. And this is asking you to I'm really getting with a parent, your own parent, setting boundaries with them. It could also be an in-law, because obviously if you're tied to your partner, it could be their parents that are causing issues. But yeah, this is about learning boundaries, and maybe also in some cases making sure that you break the cycle, that you don't repeat that with your own children, and making sure that you are also ensuring that you are accountable for your actions. So when your child expresses that something is not acceptable to them, in whatever way, and teaching them how to create boundaries, because it may be again that history is repeating itself. People did things to you when you were younger, i.e. like you were bullied in school, or people managed to manipulate you in school, and you're setting those boundaries you're teaching your children to set those boundaries with other people, so that they are strong and they have the tools that we weren't taught when we were younger, sort of thing. So this is about learning boundaries, things that should have been taught in childhood, or things that are triggered by something in childhood. But yeah, it's about setting boundaries with people and having the strength to ensure that you adhere to that. If you set a boundary and that person doesn't like it and they walk away, that person is not in any way, that is the universe taking that person out of the way. You've set that boundary. You don't need that person in your life. You do not need that energy in your life. Yeah, sometimes we accept less because we're scared to be alone. But I'd rather have 3 good friends than 20 ones that step all over me. It's about protecting your energy and protecting your value. Yeah, and you kind of got to wonder, like, well, do you actually need them in your life, or do you get what they should be providing elsewhere? And really, you should be providing that for yourself in some ways. So maybe this is a lesson on self-love, self-worth, because boundaries are what we do to ensure that boundaries are essential self-care. So yeah. Anyway, I hope that is of some use to you this week, Taurus, and hopefully I will see you again next week. Bye for now.